Today I'd like to talk about a feature that I believe DCS will eventually need. Now, before I get into this, I want to be clear. I love DCS, and my intention is not to just rant or complain. Eagle Dynamics has done an amazing job delivering this experience to us. I'm not trying to dump on them or any of the third-party developers. I'm just making observations and suggestions. Much respect and love to all the developers who help make DCS possible. So the feature is what I'm calling generic spawn slots. Anyone who has used the mission editor or played online multiplayer is well aware that the current system DCS employs is clearly centered around player slots being a specific aircraft at a specific location in a specific state with a specific loadout. Now, for single player campaigns, this is fine, but for multiplayer, it causes some issues. For large scale missions, creators have to make a guess about what aircraft are going to be popular and designate spawn slots accordingly. It's possible to join a server and find that you don't have any slots for your preferred aircraft available. Or you can find that there are slots available, but they're really far away from the action, and it can be frustrating to encounter these situations. While doing research for this video, I discovered that I'm not the first person to think of this. Back in 2021, user Tom or Tom underscore made a post while on the DCS forum. I'll place a link to his post in the description. Reading it helped validate some of my thoughts on the topic to see, somebody else arrive at the same conclusions in parallel and independently. The current method of spawning in DCS involves selecting a specific aircraft at a pre-designated slot somewhere on the map. Once you spawn in, the mission creator has determined what your initial loadout will be and other things like if it's hot or cold start. At this point, you have the option to choose a different loadout by using the Rearm Refuel menu, which is a pop-up that is only available after you spawn. If you choose to make changes, then you wait for the ground crew to reconfigure your jet. After you have done all of that, then you're ready to fight. While you're rearming, in the case of a hot start, you're just sitting there idle in the cockpit while you wait for the ground crew. Sometimes there's literally nothing for you to do but sit and wait. It just feels like this process could be streamlined by changing the order in which things happen. The whole process starts to look a little bit backwards if you contrast that with how it works in other games. I'll use the Battlefield franchise as an example here, but it's similar in many other games. Typically, you're given an entire screen to configure your weapons, attachments, gear, and so on, and that's all available before you spawn. Once you've made your selections, you can enter the fight with immediate access to the gear that you've chosen. Wouldn't it be nice if we had something like that in DCS? A really nice loadout screen already exists in DCS, but it's only available in the mission editor. How cool would it be if a spawn or rearming menu looked like this in-game? What if instead of what we do now, you would select your aircraft, select a pre-configured loadout, or place weapons manually. Select hot start or cold start, select a spawn location, and then, click a spawn button and enter the fight. No searching through a list of spawn locations for your specific aircraft, no reconfiguration of the jet after you get into the cockpit. It would just be so much cleaner. You wouldn't even have to press F2 to see your livery selection, because if we had the same cool loadout screen as the mission editor, you could see your jet before you even spawned. You could see also exactly where on the jet you're putting each bomb or missile without waiting for the ground crew to fully arm your jet before you realize that you made a mistake. This is just so much better in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that lockdown spawns should totally go away. I can see that there's a place for them even in multiplayer. If mission creators want to encourage a certain type of spawn at a particular part in the mission for some reason, they should still, be able to do that if it seems appropriate. Also there could be restrictions on, a certain number of aircraft or certain type of aircraft can only have so many per mission, so you don't get a completely homogeneous swarm of the exact same aircraft all on one side. Also, generic spawns could be optionally limited to a checklist of specific aircraft or a specific aircraft type. For example, maybe you only want helicopters to spawn, or only attack aircraft or naval aircraft. You get the idea. That's all fine, that can stay, but generic spawn slots don't mean everything has to become the Wild West and everything is spawning willy-nilly in totally ridiculous and unrealistic ways. But I think the added flexibility and improvements to the spawn process would be a big boost to the quality of life for the players, and it would mean more options for the mission creators. Something like this is going to be natural to add in order to support multiplayer going forward. As the number of official aircraft available in DCS continues to grow, multiplayer mission creators are going to be increasingly selective about choosing what aircraft quantities to include in their missions. And what they're doing right now is they kind of have to guess at what aircraft are going to be popular and give a lot of slots to those, give less to less popular aircraft. But if you fly a less popular aircraft and, say you have 6 buddies that all want to fly JF-17s, they're not the most popular aircraft. You may not find 6 slots in a server that are available, so you can't join in. So that's unfortunate, and I think it takes away from the player experience. You can't even join the mission sometimes if you don't have the certain modules that there are spawn slots available for. And while we're on the subject of the spawn system, I'd also like to see, after they add generic spawns, wouldn't it be cool if we had some kind of party system so that when you join a server you can be put in the same flight as your wingman? In aircraft like the Viper, there are advantages to being in the same flight, like being able to send target information to your wingman. As far as I know, this only works between Vipers in the same flight. The ad hoc way in which slots are consumed on multiplayer servers means that sometimes, even if you're joining as a 4-ship, there may not be 4 slots all available in the same flight. So your ability to cooperate is hampered by being technically in different flights, even if you fly as if you are. If we have generic spawn slots, we should be able to have some kind of opt-in to a specific flight so that you can be paired with your wingman or wingmen, and that would allow you to all work together. I mean, let me tell you, having a 4-ship of Vipers cooperating and sharing target data is a really thrilling experience. It's awesome. It's an airborne wrecking crew if everyone's on their game, and you can't do that necessarily without a lot of pre-planning, and sometimes you have to get lucky finding 4 slots all available if you're playing at a really popular time. 4 slots all in the same flight. If we had some kind of party system, that issue would go away, and if you join with 3 of your buddies, you can all be in the same flight, and I think that would be pretty cool. So those are my thoughts on the DCS spawn system and how I'd like to see it evolve and add the possibility of generic spawns. Again, I'm not trying to bash or complain, but just point out ways it could be improved with what I hope is constructive criticism. That's what I'm trying to do here. I love DCS, I love flying DCS, much respect to Eagle Dynamics and all the developers. You can let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. I'm JakeSoft. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you up there.
Here's the Fox 3.